Hello and welcome to another video. Today's race is going to be another soggy one. I make no apology for it. It's the process I'm going through at the moment. We're at the Goiania Circuit in Brazil. It's going to be another 20-minute race starting at 4 o'clock with one single weather slot of rain. So the previous race we did a storm and the puddles developed and it sort of interrupted a little bit of the learning. So I've gone back a notch. We're going with just straightforward rain. We've got a standing start, no pit stops, and a heavy rubbered circuit again, just to try and make it so that the racing line is a bit more slippery than it otherwise could be. Our opponents will be the usual maxed out JCW Mini grid on 120 skill level, high aggression, and once again we'll be starting from plumb last. So, without further ado, let's get trackside and let's go racing. Usual customary JCW Mini start versus the AI. Rubbish. Sweet. Win it back on the inside again. Oh, that's an awesome start. Been a bit friendly to Woods there and ended up losing out to Shaw. So I did this race earlier and I pushed from the very start, and by the time I finished the race my lap times had dropped off a fair bit and I'd only got about 25% of the tyre left. Can't see anything. Missed my braking point completely there. So the target this race is to see if we can achieve similar sort of times, and the best time I did was a 37.8. So we're going to see if we can achieve similar times. Now we can't. I don't think I'm going to get that close to that because I'm going to drive. I reckon we'll be hopefully low 38s. But I'd like to see that stay as low 38s if I can. And I'd also like to see if we can keep that left front tyre no more than 50% wear. But I'm going to change my driving style completely to achieve it. Interesting to see if a smoother style helps reduce that tyre wear significantly or not. They're really good under braking into that first corner if they're on the attack. It's another one of those situations. If you're racing them, they're not that much different, but if they're attacking, you You cannot brake like they can. Quite an impressive overtaking manoeuvre there. Where are we? 38.3. Yeah, that's about where I'd expect. This will be interesting. Let's see how he is on the brakes. Yeah. Carried a bit more in, but we'll probably get a bit more out. Yeah, so about even. But if he was on the attack, he'd have come from miles away. Really careful on that left front. Gotta be so careful on the brakes. I mean, you got ABS, but I don't. Yeah, and you can feel it working. But at the same time, it's not enough. It's not as efficient to brake with ABS enabled as it is without it. So the lower you can have it, the better, really. Get a better lap. We need to start tidying things up a little bit, don't we? There you go. Look how far he's come back from. He's now just ridiculous. I didn't brake any differently to what I did in the previous lap, and he's it's just ridiculous. He's come from over half a second back. And you see what I mean? If you just push just a little bit harder on the brakes, you end up sailing past the apex and running wide. So it feels really pedestrian, but yeah, it's kind of where you are, really. price of one? Yes. Just gave enough room on the exit. I've got 10 minutes left, see if we can close this gap down. Now we'll probably have to defend into the first corner. Ridiculous. But then everything they gain in the first corner there, they then lose in this corner here. So I think if Razor just balanced out those two corners better, it would be a better end result overall. Focus, Andrew. I suppose I should say, so the reason I'm interested in trying to achieve this race with a 50% tyre usage on the left front is because I'd like to see if I can achieve a full tank of fuel on one set of tyres. I think that's a reasonable expectation, whereas the way I ran the race before, you couldn't have done it. If you'd have had an endurance race, you'd have been pitting far more regularly than you needed to for fuel, for tyres. So yeah, if you can make the set of tyres last as long as the fuel lasts, then you're much better off, aren't you? So far though, the lap times, yeah, to achieve the lap times with the tyre wear I'm seeing, yeah, you'll probably be quicker on a, if you were in an endurance race, you'd be quicker to drive this way, but yeah, for a sprint race, if you've got it, use it all. Yeah, we're seeing a similar drop off in time as well. It's a little bit less, but then the fastest time is a lot slower, so it would only literally be for the requirement of a pit stop. Opportunistic there from Collins. I was wide in the entry though to the first corner. Did rather invite him in. Yeah, so far I think we're a fraction slower than where we were before. Going to be tight for 50% as well on that left front. To block this. Come on. So where are we? We've got to cross the line by 1:38. Well, we're on course. Similar sort of time. Oh, there's a block bell here. Missed my braking point in the spray. Looking at the clock too much. So we should get one extra lap in, and I think that's, looking at the tyre wear, I think we're going to do 50% as well. So we're going to be a similar pace overall to what we were pushing hard. So maybe we are still hovering around that same sort of lap time, aren't we? They haven't really dropped off much. So there's definitely something to be looked at further here, I think, with driving style in the wet. Especially if you've got a longer race where you need to, you know, make it last as long as the fuel. You know what, this might still be on, you know. Sorry, Dean. Long way round, please. Yeah, so we've got the extra lap. That is just mental how they can break into there. Absolutely no way can I do that. No way. So we can get Dean into here. Bit of mild defending there. I'll tell you what, it would be really cool if the AI was a bit more defensive, because that little defensive move there from Ellis really does make my life that much more difficult. And he could have gone further. Than he did. Yeah, it wouldn't take much of a defence to really make your life a lot harder than they do currently make it. So I need to make sure we get a good exit in the last corner. Lovely. Beautiful. Nice work, everyone. I enjoyed that. That was really interesting. Well, for me it was anyway. I don't know how it was for you. But yeah, that was really interesting for me. Bearing in mind I have the knowledge of what happened in the previous race. So actually, let's just go back. Yeah, so the tyre wear is it's about just a fraction under 50 maybe, but then we have done the extra lap. Yeah, interesting. Keeping the lap times more constant seems to yield the same-ish, certainly close enough to the same overall race time, but without loads and loads of tyre wear, but with much reduced tyre wear. Like it was down to 25% in the race, in the push race, and then you saw there only 50%. So we could do a whole fuel tank on that set of tyres, which is great. That's exactly what you want to do, and it's all down to just how you drive the car. That's interesting. Right, let's get into the replay, shall we? Well, what an interesting race. What an interesting process this is. I say an interesting. I'm not sure what it was like to watch, but from my point of view, it was a really interesting race. The difference that you can make in your driving style to how much your tyres wear it's significant, and the word significant probably underplays it somewhat as well. I mean, when I did the push race, I had 25% left on my left front tyre come the end of the race. At the end of this race, I had 50%. Now the difference there, alright, in a sprint race, not really very much. However, if you had double tyre wear, like we had in the JCW UK Tour, I couldn't have finished the race if I'd have pushed it the whole way. I would have had to have driven the way I drove in this race to achieve it. That is the difference that it makes. I would have had to have made a pit stop in that race, whereas I didn't have to make a pit stop here. Or if you were doing a 40-minute race, where you were using a whole tank of fuel, again, you'd have had to have used this driving style. So the interesting thing for me is just how much difference you can make with how you drive. And the difference was, so when I did the push race, I drove the car like I would sort of drive it if it was dry, where I'm going in, I'm braking late, and then scrubbing off the last little bit of speed at the apex, and then trying to get out as quickly as I can. With this race, I was very consciously driving into the corner, as in, you know, feeding the car into the corner, get it settled at the apex, and then once it was settled, drive it out. There was no real pushing at any point, really. There was a couple of places maybe on the first corner where I was under a bit of pressure from other cars, but generally speaking, it was drive it in, settle it down, drive it out. And all the time, without fail, every single corner was listening to what the tire was telling me through my ears, what it was telling me through my steering wheel, and just trying to keep the car balanced on the gears, the steering, and the pedals. Everything about it was consciously trying to keep everything under control in a straight line where it needs to be. And I really have enjoyed this process, and if there's anyone else who's interested in doing it and thinks, oh, but you know, lap times are really good when it's dry, yes, they are, but going through this process, I would not be surprised if when I go back to dry running, I'm faster over a race distance, and I'm really interested to find out if that's the case, but I'm not quite ready yet. I've got a bit more to do, I've got a bit more work that I want to continue doing, a bit more refinement, and then yeah, I'll then be going back and doing some race stints in the dry and seeing if I find that my learning carries over to the dry. I'll be very surprised if it doesn't. So yeah, anyway, I'll leave it there. Thank you very much for watching, and until the next time, we'll see you later.